Okay. Oh, well, all right. I had the pleasure and sometimes misfortune of being a hunting guide, a moose hunting guide in the coastal mountains of British Columbia for quite a number of years. And what an experience it was. I want to tell you, you can go back to the same place and every year things change. Your clients change, your river changes, your moose population changes. Things are never really quite the same, and that adds to the excitement of it. I'd like to tell a story about a client of mine who was one of my most difficult and one of my most favorite clients. So the year was 2012, and we had 4 customers coming in by the names of Romy, Stan, Connor, and Dave. They were 4 guys from the United States, actually, and they had driven up to us. We weren't, that far north, and it was a couple of days' drive for them, but they were happy to have that as part of their holiday, seeing the countryside, and they drove up to just west of Williams Lake, and getting ready for a fly-in trip to the coastal mountains. Oh man, some beautiful country. I'll show a bit of this video that I have from the fellas. Actually, they sent me a bunch of pictures and a little bit of video, and I put it all together into a video. Back in the day, remember this is in 2012, so it's not the best quality footage, but I will post that up behind me. And I do want to say that in all of my videos, folks, if you see something going on behind me, if I'm posting it behind, that is the area, that is the place, the hunt. I really, really try to be authentic and use only my own footage there. So please enjoy giving you a little idea of what this hunt and what this area is like. So basically, these fellas can fly in. Us as guides are already there. I've been there a week already with my with the other guy, one of my great friends and cousin, Ash Rimple, who's such an experienced guy, tough as nails and a hard worker. He was just a joy to have along, let me tell you. So we'd been there a week already, and we cut some good trails and we scouted out some territory, and we were pretty excited. We knew what we were doing, but we hadn't seen much. We'd seen 1 moose so far, so in that week, which is not good for this kind of country. Any case, our clients finally came in, the 4 fellas from the States, nicest guys, I tell you. They really were. They were just an absolute joy to have around. Camaraderie between them was strong. They were such friends. They were all members of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, and you could just tell, their friendship as they love to rib each other and tease each other and do all of the things that guys find so fun in their friendships, eh? Heck, sometimes, a good burn or ribbing a buddy of yours is really just a man's way of saying, hey, you're my friend and I care about you. So anyways, these fellas came in, and they came in 2 different plane loads. So the first, which is kind of odd. Usually it's a big Twin Otter, a beautiful airplane, and it can really take a lot of weight. So usually we could get everyone in 1 trip, but this was coming in 2 trips, 4 guys and their little bit of gear. I was kind of wondering what that was about. We took in the first couple of guys and got them in a boat, and Ash started taking them up to camp, and I waited on for the plane to come back with the second load, which was just going to be 1 guy and a little bit more gear. So as I waited there and wondering why they would take 2 trips, the plane landed, and the doors opened, and my fella, my last client, gets out and hops onto the pontoon, and I figured out why they had to leave him for last. That whole plane went when he went on that pontoon. This guy was huge. He's one big dude, and I mean heavy. He's 300 and some pounds. And so I'm like, okay, well, we hunt this whole river. We've got about, maybe 15 kilometers of river creek, really. They call it a river, just a little creek that goes up and flanks these beautiful meadows. And we're just in moose hunting heaven. And we do it all from boat, which is fabulous. I'm so glad to be a boat wrangler and not horse wrangler. So we do it all by boat, but we're talking 14-foot, little John boats, aluminum boats. And with just like a 40 jet on one, it had a long tail mud buddy on the other boat, and that's what we had to ferry everyone around with. So when you're in a small boat like that, weight is an issue, a big issue. So I knew from now on, we're only going to be able to take this 1 fella and his gear and myself. That's going to fill this boat up. Then we find out that actually he's got some real knee problems, and he's not very mobile either. Okay, but he's there. He's with his great friends. He's paid his money, and we support this guy 100%. We're going to get him a moose. I don't care what it takes. All right. So first off, I figured, this guy, maybe what I'll do is I'll just set out a chair, at the edge of camp. And if he just sits there in that chair for the whole 7 days, that was their hunt, more than likely a moose is going to come walking. We almost always have some moose try to come walking through camp at some point, right? So he'll probably get a moose, but Connor, that was his name. He wasn't that into it. It's not very exciting just sitting around at camp when everyone else is off exploring all of the great countryside around there. So we were taken. Ash took out 2 other guys. I took out another guy. I took out Connor and another fella, and we were able to get the other fella a moose. Luckily, it was still, I say luckily because it was still really low in the moose population, which is, what do I say? These things can change from year to year. The year before, we had moose everywhere. This year, I mean, nothing. Nothing. I'd seen 1 bull moose. We'd seen a cow moose and a calf. And otherwise, we'd seen nothing. And we'd seen some track, and it's old. And we'd done some calling, nothing answered. At one point in our hunts, we even heard a cow moose calling and calling and calling on her own, trying to find a bull. And she wasn't having any luck either. We were starting to get pretty discouraged. But finally, I did get a moose with my one fella. Luckily, they're meat hunters. They get to take the meat. By being Americans, they can take the meat home. There's no problem with the borders between Canada and the States. They can bring home the meat and the hide, the head, all of it can head south. So they were happy for that. And I was happy that they weren't too fussy because we didn't have the option of being fussy that year. We wanted to keep up our 100% success rate. So we had a reputation to consider. So finally, I've just got Connor left, and I'm gonna get this guy a moose. I have got to do it. So I go out and I cut trail. I mean, I have to cut nice wide trail. If there's any kind of fall down, blow down at all, I have to buck them out of the way because Connor can't even step over these things. So I cut out like nice trails to like 3 different really good spots. And then I also put up a big tent that's right on a river bank on a sandbar, actually on the river, closer to the lake. So a place that we can camp there so that when we get up in the morning, we can hit it right away. It's important, to get that very first light, be out there just as it's getting light to shoot is, of course, where we want to be. Since we're boating on the river, if we stay on the river, from that spot, we're able to walk and start hunting right away at first light, which is important to us. So we even did that, and Connor and I had a great time actually staying in that tent together. I didn't get a lot of sleep because the guy snored like a freight train, but we still had an enjoyable time talking and visiting. Woke up one morning, Connor says to me, "Hey, there's a bear out here," he says. And I come grab my gun and we're running out of the tent. Sure enough, a little sucker of a black bear, a little bad little black bear, actually, because he's only about 30 feet away. When we come out of the tent, I got my rifle, Connor's got his bear spray, and I got my rifle up looking at him, and that little bear came towards us in a bit of a false charge. Connor starts yelling at me, shoot him, cap his ass," he says. He had kind of a voice like that. But I didn't want to deal with the bear that day. We had moose to try and get. So I held tight, and he just came a few feet. I could tell, he's kind of turning his head to the side that he was going to veer off, and sure enough, he did, and off he walked, and we never seen him again. So he was an okay bear. We had just, surprised him, I think, and off he went. So in any case, day after day goes by. We got 7 days to get a moose, and it's getting close to the end. Another day, no moose, nothing. Well, Connor's getting pretty discouraged. He doesn't want to get skunked. His other buddy has already gotten a moose. He does not want to get skunked. And, around the supper table in the evenings, the conversation is starting to get a little bit discouraging. And I'm trying my best to keep Connor in good moods and to try and encourage him and that it's going to be all right. Be optimistic. Man, we got a couple of days left, Connor. You just wait and see. We're going to get you your moose. "Oh, I don't know about that," he'd say. Only got 2 days. We haven't seen a damn thing. We're getting you that moose. You just watch it. You bet we're going to. So after my all encouraging this fellow, pretty soon he wasn't having much more of it. He was getting pretty discouraged, and we were on our very last day. So I took him down to one of the best spots that we have. We tried it before. We're going to try it again. Called and called. Nothing. We're calling and calling. It's absolutely nothing. We got to take the boat back to camp. Going to take about a half an hour. So we got to leave just before, just as it's getting dark. But I decided that'll be a good thing. There's obviously nothing going on here. We'll even leave, a little bit earlier so that we can have that trip upriver. And you never know, we could come around the corner and heck, there's a moose there. And that's just what I told Connor. He's putting his gun away and he's putting all his shells away and he's got this pouty look on his face. I said, Connor, the hunt ain't over yet. We got a good 10, 15 minutes of daylight left yet. You keep your gun, you keep your rifle ready to go. You'll want bullets in your hand. You have to have the rifle empty in the boat. You keep that rifle ready to go, bullet in hand, because we'll come around the corner and sure enough, there's going to be a moose there. Yeah, right, whatever. He'd had enough of my optimistic talk already. So, sure enough, we head in the boat and we go heading up the river and we come around the corner. Well, I'll be darned if there isn't a great big cow moose. It's funny, you're in a boat, you're low to the ground, you come around the corner, there's a cow moose there. They're just huge. It always surprises me. No matter, every time I see a moose, it still surprises me on just how big they are. So this great big cow moose standing in the river up to her elbows about. And right behind her is a little bull moose, like big in body, but antler size. This sucker was just young, he's like 2 years old. And he has got a grin from ear to ear. And I'm not joking one little bit. Coming around that corner, I could tell that moose was grinning from ear to ear. There was no other big bull moose around, and he figured, right on, I am getting lucky tonight. Well, little did he know, Connor had other ideas for him, and his demise was inevitable. As I cut the engine, we floated over a little bit. You're in a boat, it's not easy. You got to cut the engine, you got to get to the shore or against a log jam or something where I can hold it steady. Connor can have a good shot before that moose decides to take off. Well, that's just what happened. He stayed there looking at us as I did a little bit of grunting at things to make him wonder what the heck was going on. He stood still just long enough. Boom! Connor shoots him. It takes a couple of steps and down he goes in the water. Fabulous. We pull around and give him another shot through the head. Didn't have to worry about hurting the rack. It's the littlest crack you ever seen. But let me tell you, was Connor happy. It might as well have been a 50-inch trophy moose. He was so excited that he didn't get skunked, that he was going to take that meat home, and he got to fill his tag. We got back to camp, and Connor was a new man. He was absolutely converted. No longer the pessimist, absolutely the optimist. Someone else was saying something, one of his partners was saying something negative to him, and he said to him, "That's how I used to think, but not anymore. Now I'm a believer." A believer in optimism. He even told me that he was going to go home to his wife, and he was sure that she would see the difference in him as well. And at the end, they gave us a tip, and they even gave us gifts. They gave us this knife, and I got to show you. Hang on. Okay. All right. Hopefully, I'll come closer. Hopefully, you can see this. Put your finger in there, and that is. What a cutter that is. What a skinner that is. That's turned out to be one of my favorite little fixed blade knives. It's lightweight. It's good looking. It takes up almost no space. It's all the cutting surface that I need for doing a good skinning or even getting in between joints, getting up inside the cavity. And if I could do an entire moose with just that knife alone. That's a present from them. Look at that little details. Like, I don't know if you can see that, but there's moose tracks. Moose tracks in that knife. Thanks, guys. And that was really cool. That is one of the best clients that I ever had, me and Connor. He was a great guy. And, I just really respected him for being out there, even though in those difficult situations. I think, he probably thought twice about going, and his friends, wrangled him into it and drug him out there. And, he ended up having a fantastic time. So to anyone else out there, if you get the chance to go on a guided moose hunt, you can afford it, go for it. It's fantastic. I mean, the country you're going to see, remote places, the game you're going to see, it's just absolutely fantastic. And the camaraderie amongst friends and co-hunters and guides is just unbelievable. It's such a great experience. If you get the chance to be a guide, you're a hunter, look into that. See if you can do it. You won't regret it one little bit. Well, folks, that's my story. But you know what? I'd like to tell one of yours. Send in your hunting stories to info@themoosewhisperer.com. Let me tell them to the world. I know you got great stories. Heck, we're starting a community here. Thanks for watching. More stories to come.